All right, today we're going to look at combining integers on the number line. So remember, combining means putting together, so we're going to think about addition. So we're always going to start at 0, and we're going to draw an arrow to represent your first integer. Then, that's moving away from 0, and then we're going to look at the second integer, and from that first arrow, because we've already moved, we're going to draw that second arrow the length and the direction of the second integer. So this is to help us out to review how we're going to combine our put together integers. So we're always going to start at 0. So I haven't moved anywhere yet, so I'm starting at 0. Now remember, to the left of 0 are your negatives, and to the right of zeros are positives. So by drawing an arrow, we're representing that integer. So positive 5, and I know that this is positive because there's no sign in front of that. So it's a positive 5. So I'm going to draw my arrow to the right to land at positive 5. And I'm going to put plus 5 above it to show me that was my first integer. Now I'm going to add to my picture a negative 8. So don't let that part confuse you that it says plus negative 8. This just represents that I'm adding an arrow that represents negative 8. But I'm not at 0 anymore. I've already moved this way to the positive 5. So I need to go from here 8 to the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That makes sense because if I went 5 to the right and 5 to the left, I land back at 0. That's only 5 steps to the left. 6, 7, 8. So when I added a group of 8 negatives, I land right here at negative 3. So we're showing you with representation with the number line. Now notice I didn't sit there and do the jumps and then go back because that won't show me the what your equation looks like. So we want to draw our arrows like that to represent from 0 to 5, that means plus 5. And from 5 landing at negative 3, that means I added a negative 8. Because sometimes they're going to give you the picture like this, and then they're going to ask what the equation was. What does that represent? All right, let's keep going. So now I have negative 9 combined with negative 12. Now notice what's different about this problem is my parentheses were around this negative 8, but they weren't around that negative 12. And that's okay. But first we're going to draw that negative 9. So we're going to start at 0, and we're going to go negative 9 toward the negatives, means we're going to the left. So I'm going to go all the way to negative 9. I'm going to put minus 9 above there. So that's my first part. Now I'm going to add, right there, a line that represents 12 negatives. So now you need to ask yourself, am I going to the right or am I going to the left? And hopefully you said you're going to the left. So from here, if I were to go 12 to the left, you could count. Even though the number line doesn't go any further on our picture, we can represent that. Well, if I went 9 steps to the left and another 12 steps to the left, how many total steps to the left is that? So you're going to combine or put those two negatives together. So negative 9 combined with the negative 12, if we sit here and counted it out, so negative 10, 11, negative 12, negative 13, and so on. Well, you went all these total steps to the left. So 12 plus 9, you need to see it, is 21. So we know that we actually are going to be a total of 21 steps to the left, so it's going to be a negative 21. Again, you can also think about money with this too. If you owe somebody $9 and you owe somebody else $12, you owe a total of $21, so owing money is a negative. Okay? All right, let's look at one more horizontally. Horizontally is left to right, and then I'm going to show you a strategy with vertical up and down number lines. So again, we're going to start at 0, and negative 3 means we're going to go 3 to the left because I started at 0, and I'm going to add another arrow that represents negative 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I went 3 steps to the left and 4 steps to the left from there, I land at negative 7. Another way to think about this, I call it the positive pirates and the negative ninjas. The negative ninjas join up because they're on the same team. So -3 combined with -4, you have a total of 7 negative ninjas. Okay, over here, 5 positive pirates and 8 negative ninjas, they don't like each other, so they're going to cancel out, and that way their sign is going to be different, going to be based on who they're more of. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in the next day's assignment with combining integers. So again, when we're modeling with our equations on these number lines, you need to draw each part to represent accurately what your equation is. If you just have the little jumps or those little loops, it doesn't represent what your integers were that you were adding and combining together. All right, so let me show you now where we have a vertical number line, because this is going to help us with our subtraction problems. Anytime we have subtraction, you actually are adding the opposite. So we know traditionally subtracting is finding the difference between 2 points. So I'm going to prove to you the whole point of why we're going to rewrite subtraction to addition. So we know that subtraction is finding the difference between these 2 points. So if I'm at 5, I'm at positive 5 right here, and I'm taking away 3, well, I'm basically saying what's the difference between positive 5 and this positive 3. We all know that 5 minus 3 is 2. And you can see that right there. There's 2 jumps. There's 2 steps between it. So if you had 5 positives and you took away 3 positives, we know that you'd have 2 left over. You can see that visually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I took away 3 of those positives, we've got 2. So now let's think about that here. If subtracting is finding the difference, here's 5, so I'm at positive 5, and I'm subtracting or finding the difference between that 5 and this negative 3 right here. So again, if you think about it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 positives, I can't take away 3 negatives because I only have positives shown. So that's why we wanted to use this vertical number line to show you, finding the difference between these 2 points. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the difference between 5 and a negative 3 is actually 8. There's 8 steps. And I know that looks a little confusing because you think subtracting means that you're going to get smaller. Well, it depends on your numbers. Okay? We can see that we started at 5, and when we subtracted a negative 3, our solution is actually bigger. 8 is bigger than 5. And here's the reason why. Once you cross that 0, from 5 to 0, that's 5 steps. And from 0 to negative 3, that's an additional 3 steps. So because you took a total of 8 steps, you passed that 0 with those 3 additional steps, that's why we get bigger. So here's something that we want to think of. That way you don't have to draw these number lines every single time, but this just proves our little rhyme right here. Anytime you see subtraction, you're going to add a line, change the next sign. And this is what that means. We just proved with the picture that 5 minus negative 3 is a positive 8. So you're going to add a line, change the next sign. And isn't 5 plus a positive 3 get you to 8? So that's how you can represent that. That way you don't have to worry about drawing these vertical number lines every time. But if you need to, because it helps you, let's do that. So let's do 2 more problems over here to help you out. Again, think about this. If you have 8 negatives, can you take away 7 positives? Nope, sure can't. So we're going to add a line. We're going to add a line to the subtraction sign and then change our next sign. So this now becomes negative 8 plus a negative 7. And if you think about how we did on this first part, if you went 8 steps to the left and 7 steps to the left, that means that you would land at negative 15. So again, subtracting the traditional way like this only works if you actually have that value to take away from. Okay? So here again, let's change it down to this one. Okay? If I have 13 negatives, Can you take away one negative? Well, technically you can. So 13 minus 1 would be 12, but remember they were negatives. But let's prove that with our little rhyme. So we have a prediction. If you have 13 negatives and you take away 1 negative, you should have 12 negatives left over. But let's prove it with our rhyme. You see subtraction, so we're going to rewrite every subtraction problem to addition. We add a line and change the next sign. So now this is negative 13 combined with a positive 1. So if I went 13 steps to the left and 1 step to the right using my number line, I sure enough would land at negative 12. Okay? So these are some other problems that if you want to practice on your own, you're ready to go, and we can check with your teacher to see if you're right.